Good evening, Fort Collins. Welcome to the 2012 State of the City. Yeah. I'm Mayor Karen Weitkunat, and with me this evening on the podium is City Manager Darin Atteberry. And also with us this evening are several council members, my Mayor Pro Tem, Kelly Olson.
All right.
Councilmember Ben Manville, and Councilmember Wade Troxel. I am really excited to be here, and particularly this evening. You can see things are a little different. We have a little different venue here at the Lincoln Center. It's truly a unique experience for us because this is what we're about this evening. The format's a little different. It's about community, and this facility is a community investment by you, the people. Tonight, we're celebrating Fort Collins as a community and our collective accomplishments together. Through a series of short videos, we will report on the state of our community through your perspective, through your stories, through your voice.
Thanks, Mayor, and welcome everyone, and thank you for the early applause. That's very appreciated.
Promising.
Very much, yeah, promising. The state of the city is good, very solid. We're bullish about this community. Because I know Kevin Dugan from the Coloradoan is here, I don't want it to be quoted as the state of the city is good, Kevin. The state of the city is fantastic. Fort Collins is in great shape. You know, we all know Fort Collins is a wonderful community. Many of us would go as far as saying it's a world-class community. I'm proud of the role that the city organization plays in creating some of this success as a community. Tonight, as the mayor said, it's a very different format than what we've done in past years. You're going to see more emphasis on the community telling its story about the state of the city, and less from the mayor and myself about that. We will have a time at the end for questions and answers, but this was really an effort on the part of interest on the part of the mayor to say, let's go out and engage the community. You tell your state of your feelings about the state of the community. Also, another key point in this discussion and in the video clips, you'll see three very distinct areas. As all of you who know who've been watching the city closely over the last couple of years, we're very focused on this idea of sustainability. And in a quick nutshell, it's not doing any harm to future generations. And in fact, if we can enhance the work and the presence and the globe for future generations, that's a great thing. So sustainability, we talk about the triple bottom line. We talk about the environmental health of the community, we talk about the economic health of the community, and also the social health of the community. So again, very unique that we're relying heavily on on you telling the story, and then at the end we have council members talking about the state of the community, and then some of the challenges that they see coming up. On your tables this evening, you can see the brochures as the centerpiece. They are intended to be brief highlights of some of the major accomplishments in 2011 that your city government, in partnership with many in this community, accomplished. And you'll recall that in previous State of the City addresses, most of our presentation focused on those accomplishments. And we wanted to summarize those, and please take those with you, and please also know that they are available on our website at fcgov.com. As a community, we have much to be proud of. We truly are a model of sustainability. The mayor and I get around and get to talk with other communities. I get to travel nationally and learn from others. And I will tell you that this community is doing it very well. We can absolutely improve, and we're deeply committed to that. We're thoughtful stewards of our environment. We're actively and strategically investing in our healthy economy, and we are strengthening the social well-being of our community. Those are very deliberate strategic efforts driven by the council, and we have alignment with the staff, and we're working on a daily basis to do that. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
The Fort Collins community is looked to as a leader of environmental sustainability. Our natural areas, our efforts related to the Poudre River, our support of alternative transportation. As you'll see in this video, it all adds up to a community that respects and protects the environment. Here's what you said about the state of the city as it relates to the environment.
I first have to think that we're truly blessed to live in a community that has clean water and clean air, and a community that really supports and values those items.
The attitude that the environment is important, it's good for businesses, it's good for the community, it's good for our health, it's good for jobs, it's good for the bugs and the bunnies who live in our community and outside of our community. Everybody basically is happy by that.
We have a long history of protecting our environment and loving our environment. And it's because it's citizens rolling up their sleeves and getting out there and doing things.
We're also fortunate enough to be surrounded by some great role models. New Belgium, Models, Resource, Woodward Governor, the Brendel Group.
Fort Zed, we have the Engines Lab, we have breweries who are committed to environmental sustainability. We have Be Local Northern Colorado. We also have the Museum of Discovery, and I think connecting children to nature is hugely important in this day and age, and the Museum of Discovery has really been designed to be able to do that. What also is really important to the city is CSU.
Ultimately, one of our greatest products is our students who come to Fort Collins not just for the opportunities that the lab has, but also the great environment that we have in the city of Fort Collins. We're training these students to tackle the next generation of environmental challenges and to be great stewards of the environment.
And as I look around as a small business owner, I know that our needs in the economy are inextricably tied to the environmental health. And I'm pleased to see that the city has taken steps to protect those amenities and augment what we have in our natural resources through different projects and programs.
And I think that a more recent thing is the emphasis on what is known as a triple bottom line, and how that leads to a sustainable community. And one of the things of the triple bottom line is the environment, the other is the economy, and the other is people. And it's a three-legged stool, and if one leg is faulty, then the whole stool is going to collapse.
I feel like sometimes we live in this bubble and we tout our successes, but how do we continue to look and improve on that and engage all of Fort Collins, Northern Colorado, the Western United States, and the globe?
Ultimately, I like to remind people that we're all connected. Pollution that leaves a cook stove in India or a diesel engine in China will migrate across the ocean and hit the United States within just 2 weeks. So if we can develop a cook stove that reduces emissions in India, we're actually improving our situation here in Fort Collins as well.
And part of the reason I choose to do business in this community is because of the natural environment that we have surrounding the city of Fort Collins. It certainly wouldn't be the community that it is without those amenities.
Fort Collins is environmentally unique because of the geography and the climate that we live in. We're faced with this high desert environment where water is the lifeblood, and educating people on the value of that and how we conserve it and value it as a precious resource that needs to be used wisely, and how we can be forward-thinking in terms of looking at water laws, looking at gray water, wastewater recycling, and how we can reuse water.
We are very fortunate because we have some of the best water quality in the country coming down the Poudre River and off the mountain.
We need to make sure that that river is important in our mind, because that river provides so much lifeblood to this community: economic lifeblood, biologic lifeblood, cultural and social lifeblood. So I think it's really important. That's a challenge.
So I'm worried about upstream, downstream, and in town, and I worry about water for agriculture and making sure we have enough water in that river.
On the other hand, our greatest opportunity is the city is looking at doing some really great things to bring flow back to the river and to restore the stream banks and take out the riprap, the concrete, and actually restore the river to a more natural feature. And that's a great opportunity, and I think that's something that everybody in the community can really enjoy.
We have a lot of good things going for us, and I think that we're probably ahead of many of the cities in the U.S. because of so many things going on. And just for example, we have very strong city and county open space programs.
Back in '91, when the citizens voted to create that open space program, we only had about 1,200 acres of land that could be considered open space or natural areas. Today we have a little bit over 40,000 acres, which is a remarkable leap in 20 years.
Here at the Engines Lab, we work on transportation issues as well. Things like plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. One exciting development in the area of transportation locally is the Mason Street corridor.
Is a great opportunity, and the revitalization of Midtown, including the Foothills Mall.
From an environmental viewpoint, it's going to help keep cars off the road and encourage people to try alternative modes that are more efficient and more benign for the environment.
It's important that we support alternative modes of transportation, be that mass transit, like the Mason Street corridor, pedestrian walkways like the beautification of the alleys downtown, and the support of more bike commuting and bike paths in and around the community.
We're an active, outdoorsy kind of bunch, and when you're recreational people like to have quality environments to recreate in, and we have it all here. So that's a perfect example of long-term vision and community effort to keep this a great place to live.
So, yeah. Undeniably, Fort Collins is a great place to live, and I want you to know, and I think on behalf of the mayor and council, we're deeply committed as a city government to keep it that way and to further enhance that. In the video, you heard about some long-term strategies like our community initiatives like the Mason Corridor and Fort Zed, and Zed equals Zero Energy District. These are really projects that are quite visionary. I call them differentiators. If you see yourself in a competitive environment, which some would say cities are not, I look at it and say, how do you keep Fort Collins competitive amongst many, many other cities in the country and across the globe? You look at how you differentiate yourself from other communities. And I think that projects like the Mason Corridor and Fort Zed will literally transform the future of Fort Collins, and we're very, very proud to be part of that.
Fort Collins is living proof that a healthy environment and a robust economy can coexist. Through partnerships, innovation, and hard work, the Fort Collins economy is faring far better than most. In this second video, we talked to local business owners, major employers, and community members. We heard a common theme. Amidst the national recession, Fort Collins continues to thrive. Here's your commentary on the opportunities and the challenges facing the local economy.
It seems like Fort Collins fares much better than the rest of the country in that present economic state.
Not everyone is rising with the tide as the economy continues to improve, but in general, when I see all the different efforts that are happening around the city, CSUs, super clusters, and the cities, industry clusters, and the Innosphere, and the small businesses that are starting up, I'm really optimistic.
Well, economically, I think one of the real strengths in Fort Collins is that we are really a knowledge-based economy here. You know, whether you take craft brewing or an industry like Spire, we're developing high-tech products. Most of the primary businesses are based on high levels of domain knowledge. You have to understand the market. You have to create real fundamental value. That makes a big difference, and I think that makes Fort Collins unique.
This is an innovative community. This is a community that doesn't stand back and isn't afraid. And I think we've all said, all right, that's enough of being sort of in the background. Let's move forward and let's be the drivers of our own destiny.
Our role in Fort Collins, more than anything, I think, is to create jobs. As a business, you want to continue to grow. You want to be profitable. You want to be stable. We want to put ourselves in a situation where we can grow here in Fort Collins well into the future.
For a lot of places we're stopping any sort of building or trying to expand anything. You see construction going on all over the place, and during a down economic time, to see any type of construction happening is a definite sign that you're okay. I'm not saying that we're through it and that everyone's where they were 5 years ago, but we're really very well positioned for the future.
This is a community that has so embraced itself and understands who they are and what our values are so well as to even being willing to tax itself
And that's what we're looking for your thoughts, the vision of...
It's long been talked about, but the reality is that the ground is broken and the corridor is well on its way to being completed, and with that it's going to come the economic booms that you're going to see around station stops and just the ability to start connecting the north and the south sides in a way that were really only possible by car before.
When I first started working here, almost all of the buildings out in this area were empty. It's improved considerably in the time that I've been here, and it reflects highly on the North Fort Collins Business Association and their work with the URA. The URA is a wonderful project. It takes money that they wouldn't have had because it's based on the taxes that you will pay by improving the area, so it takes some of that money, it gives it back to the person that's doing the construction, it increases the tax base, and it keeps people in this part of the town where things were pretty run down, and they're improving considerably. And we are a business where now we have 21 employees. We bring in all our money from outside of the town. So we're actually bringing money in to spend around on the other businesses like Jack's and Big O and the other businesses in this part of town. And so it has a pretty good impact.
From an economic development perspective, I'd say there are sort of these three things that have to come together. You have the knowledge piece, or the domain knowledge piece. You have the business models that have to work, and you have to have a policy framework that supports all of this to make it happen. We know the situation at the national scale when it comes to policy, particularly in areas like energy. My hope is that in Fort Collins, a smaller ecosystem, we can do something about it. And if we get the policy structure right in Fort Collins, I think we can leverage a lot of the fundamental strengths that we have and basically build on that before others take advantage of the same types of opportunities.
When we were looking for a headquarters, a spot to be, we were looking for very much so something that fit the culture of our company. Fort Collins obviously fits the culture of our company.
A challenge for any community is continuing to build that shared vision and making sure the entire community participates in it. And I think there's a lot of discussion and a lot of interest in that in this community.
We're stronger when we partner together. And I think that from sitting on the Workforce Investment Board, that's the best example I can give you. We know that we have to partner with government, business, economic development, chamber of commerce, education, nonprofits, labor, and getting all of that together in an innovative entrepreneurial community is a little bit harder to do. And so I'm looking forward to the city having recognized recently that the key to driving economic health better is partnering, and maybe not even having to do something, but partnering with those groups who already are.
I think one of the challenges is to re-employ those people whose jobs were sent to China and to try to attract businesses that use that kind of high-tech person so that we can keep those people here.
If you look at the policies and the regulations that are in place for grid-related operations, renewable energy, sustainability, the policies and the regulations that we have are actually quite arcane. They were developed for a world 50 years ago. I think it is time that we step up to the plate and actually upgrade those policy and regulatory environments, which can have a huge impact on what we do.
If we're looking for growth, if we're looking for businesses to really come and flourish in our community, we need to make it easy. At the same time, we need to have high expectations of the companies that come here. We want to be a good neighbor, we want to be a good steward of what we've been given, and we want to give back to this great community.
We are growing, we are a very popular place. But I think amongst our chief challenges is figuring out how to do that in a managed and controlled way so that our growth does not compromise all of those things that we enjoy so much as a community.
Water is scarce. The size of our communities are growing in the northern Colorado area. That's kind of one of the downsides and challenges when you create such a great place to live, is that a lot of people want to come there, and you've got to be conscious in your decision making as you move forward, and the resources that we have and how we manage them is going to be critical to our success in the next 50, 100 years, however you want to look at it.
So a couple of things that I think about when Yvonne said we're stronger when we partner together. Blue Holvater, and I'm not sure if Blue is here, but those of you who know Blue, he's thinking out, encouraging us to think out 50 to 100 years. And I know that there are businesses that are sitting in this room that are thinking out 10, 20, 30, 50 years. And I think that it's incumbent upon all of us to be thinking that way as a local government as well. And how do we partner and how do we help accommodate that with this utmost quality in mind that folks talked about. So looking ahead to the next 50 to 100 years, not to mention in 2012, I think most of us are very optimistic. We recognize that there are some real challenges that are facing this community and this country, but as Fort Collins goes, relative to others, I think we're very, very strong. Fort Collins has fared much better than most through these last 5 to 7 years of economic downturn. As you saw in the video, our community is filled with community entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial businesses, and we're very grateful for that. We think that, again, that's a differentiator between Fort Collins and other places in northern Colorado and in this country. The spirit of creativity and commitment to partnership is seen throughout the entire business community, from small business owners to large businesses. We appreciate the fact that they need to meet a bottom line, and they exist to create jobs and to build the economy. And I will just say, on behalf of the city organization, we have great partnerships with businesses in Fort Collins. We have small, medium, and large-sized businesses, and many of you are in the room. And I just want to say we appreciate you, those of you who are highlighted here, and those of you who are in the room. We are very grateful to the role that you play in building a world-class community.
Creating a sustainable community isn't only about the economy and the environment. It also includes that cultural, the social element, the human side of the triple bottom line. Our community can be proud of the work that we do in supporting one another. Poverty, hunger, homelessness, bullying. As a community, we roll up our sleeves and we find solutions to the challenges. Here in Fort Collins, we care about one another. In this next video, you will see and hear from community members that our compassion is what makes Fort Collins unique.
In 2011, the Food Bank for Larimer County provided food to 30,000 Larimer County residents. We are seeing a lot of people who are really hurting, who have never had to access service, let alone ask for food. We are facing some real economic challenges. 23,000 people out of work in Larimer and Weld counties. That equates to a lot of people that need access to social services like the food bank.
The good news is in 2011 we did see more job openings being posted at the Workforce Center. Times are still tough. Right now we have approximately 600 families that receive help every month. The mom and the dad both are unemployed.
And as a result, they also lose their health insurance, so they fall farther and farther into a hole and into needing services.
The high cost of health care every day means people in our community are delaying care. One person in particular said, I went for weeks in what was nearly intolerable dental pain just because I didn't have a way to get dental care.
One of the things that we found very successful to work with long-term unemployed people are internships. The employer gets an opportunity to actually try out some of these workers. The job seeker gets paid as well as gets some opportunity to work and put something on their resume that's current and up to date. The other group that we're really spending a lot of time and emphasizing is veterans.
We are very fortunate to be able to serve 70 veterans with housing assistance and services. The Fort Collins Housing Authority serves about 4,000 people in our community. Throughout 2011, we added another 150 housing choice vouchers, and 50 of those are specifically for what we call our new family unification program. The Family Unification Program is a HUD program. It was a very competitive national competition that we won, and it combines housing and services for families who, but for housing, would lose custody of their children. We also have our own self-sufficiency staff who work with families, singles, really focusing on helping people be stable in housing.
Demographics from the latest census points out that in 2040, in Fort Collins, in this area, that 19% of the population will be 65 or older. That's almost 1 in 5, and that's a lot of people.
What you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with me?
Senior Center, when it opened in the mid-90s, was full from day one. So we have a big expansion program coming up. To be able to do all the things we want, we need to raise more money. We want to be able to expand the physical building, and then in that way to be able to offer more in terms of classes and recreation. I think the biggest challenge is for seniors who can no longer drive, and that would be in terms of accessible, affordable transportation so that they're not isolated in their homes.
My name is Pranaya. I serve as chair of the Youth Advisory Board of Fort Collins. Last year, on November 9th, we created the Anti-Bullying Summit. Along with the Youth Advisory Board, we had the support of the Human Relations Commission. We also had a panel of experts and students who had experienced bullying. We had the great opportunity to raise awareness about suicide prevention and how both of those tie together.
One of the people who attended the summit left a note on one of the chairs. This individual requested that they need help and they left their phone number behind. We were very pleased that there was somebody who was reaching out to us and somebody was going to be provided help by the summit.
I hope that the youth realize that they actually have a big role in Fort Collins and that we are really taken seriously. We just need to bring our voice out more.
I've been in Fort Collins since 1977. In 2003, I had a mountain biking accident which left me as a quadriplegic. After my accident, I was exposed to a whole new world. Just the small details that make a big difference to somebody that's disabled. Transportation is a big challenge. You tend to scope out areas that are more accessible for you and determines where you go to spend your money, where you go to eat. The best thing about Fort Collins is that our disabilities are not stopping us from being a part of Fort Collins. I'm very happy with the way store owners respond to someone coming in with a power chair. I think that one thing that could be improved on the dial-a-ride situation is going out to the city limits and picking people up. And there's a lot of subdivisions that have been built between the bus route and the city limits. They're not covered by public transportation and they're not covered by dial-a-ride. And there's a lot of people in those areas that need transportation.
My name's Ken John, and I work with the homeless population. We furnish them with the basic clothing and boots and gear that they need to basically deal with the elements while they're struggling to regain their self-sufficiency. The economy has put a lot of people on the streets, and we go out 3 nights a week to show these people that the community cares about them. I mean, it's 21 degrees already, and it's going to get much colder than that tonight. At least it's not snowing and sleeting and all that stuff, but
yeah,
man,
froze
it's cold.
last night.
Yeah, I can imagine. He's going to get a sleeping bag, and then we're going to hopefully find a coat and a hat.
Yeah, what's selling right there?
This would go over everything. You want to try that on?
Oh, 3 extra large, yeah. This is really nice.
Ooh, ooh.
Ooey.
There's the one that goes over your whole head and neck.
Nice. Well, I thank the good Lord that people like this are here, and there are people out here on the outside that are just in a bad situation, and I feel really bad for the women and the children.
Please keep letting people know that we're out here, that we're here to help them. And You take care.
God bless you, Ken.
We'll see you next time, okay?
Thank you very much, sir.
You should be a little bit warmer tonight. See you later.
People in Fort Collins have big hearts. They really care.
People seem to have the attitude of wanting to volunteer, and there are so many opportunities.
I've worked in enough communities to know that not all the agencies work together as a team, but here in Fort Collins, everybody pulls for the greatest need.
Well, so watching the video, we've got so many more stories of need that we can tell. And we have to limit this because of keeping your attention this evening, but we have so many stories of need. And you know, we have so many stories of helpers as well and successes, and like you saw up here, and the comments about caring and coming together, it's just, it's remarkable. It actually, I know it makes you proud to be part of this community. It certainly does me. I'm really proud of being part of Fort Collins. I'm really proud to be able to serve as city manager. It's a privilege to do this. The other thing I want to say is I want to talk about my colleagues at the city of Fort Collins. I have a couple thousand employees who on a daily basis are providing services to you. Some of those services you've seen in the video. Many of those services are on those pamphlets on your table. But you know, at any given time in the year, anywhere from 1,500 to 2,400 coworkers of mine are providing services 24/7, 365, like streets, like utilities, electric and water and wastewater, and like police services and municipal court services, and I could go on and on and on, and I won't do that. But you know, it's your city workforce is deeply committed to continuous improvement. We know we can get better. But that privilege and that sense of passion for creating a world-class community, I promise you, I see it every day, and I can't be clear enough and passionate enough about that, because it's just, you don't get to see that every day. But hopefully, when you turn on your light and your lights, you think about that. This year, 2012 is a big year for the city organization. We have two primary strategic objectives. One is operational excellence, and the other is to build a culture of innovation. Those are initiatives that the council has driven from me and through the organization, and we're going to get very, very good about that, and we're not going to be doing it sort of accidentally. We're very focused on operational excellence and creating a culture of innovation. This year was also a big year for me and for the executive leadership team. As you know, we went through a national recruitment for a new police chief. John Hutto has joined us. I'm very, very pleased to have John on our team. We have a new chief financial officer, Mike Beckstead. I think Mike is here somewhere. There he is. Did a national recruitment for that and got both an excellent police chief and excellent chief financial officer. We have a new chief sustainability officer, which we're so much emphasizing here this evening. Bruce Hendy is somewhere in the audience. He's back there. And we have a new fire chief at the Poudre Fire Authority, Tom DeMint, who I saw earlier as well. That's a lot of change, but I will tell you, you ought to be confident in the city's executive leadership team that is now on board. We have a very strong combination of lots of experience here in Fort Collins community, lots of best management practice experience from throughout the country, and I think it's just the right team. But we're continually trying to get better. We'll continue to do that. This idea of continuous improvement is not something that we take lightly. If I could, I'd like to. We have a number of my colleagues in the room, non-executive team members as well, and I would really like to give them a round of appreciation. So could you say thank you to them for me, with me? They are serious about quality, I promise you that, and they are very serious about world class. The other thing I want to do is just take a quick moment and just mention the alignment, the team that I feel with the Mayor Weitkunat, and also Mayor Pro Tem Olson and Councilmember Manville and Councilmember Troxel and Councilmember Papa and Horak and I'm sorry. And sorry, Councilmember Kotwitz, who I love working with. And I should never list all the names like that because I know I'll miss someone. But that's not a reflection about how I feel about these partners. Your city council and your mayor are deeply committed, as I just expressed about the city staff, very passionate about this community. The one thing, and I remember Mayor Hutchinson always talking about a richly diverse council. The one thing that this council agrees on is making this a better community. You cannot, no question about it. They're deeply committed to that, each one of them. They give and give and give to this community. And I see my job and the city staff's job as aligning with them to accomplish their objectives. So I also want to say thank you, Mayor. You've been a great partner to work with, and our city council as well. So thanks for letting me share that. I appreciate you guys.
As mayor, I too am really proud to serve in a community where people truly care. And among those are your elected representatives. They take their job seriously and make a major difference. Your city council is diverse, we know that, and a dedicated group of individuals who come from different perspectives, but all are committed to keeping the city of Fort Collins great. Each one of us is proud and honored to serve the people of this community. In the final video segment, the City Council speaks with you about the past year's accomplishments and where 2012 will take us.
I actually think Fort Collins is doing really, really well, regionally and nationally. And I'm really proud of the work that our council and the previous councils have done in order to position ourselves.
We have a strong, relatively a strong economy. I think we have a diversity of industry. We have an innovative community. I think we have an educated community. We have a lot of things that are going for us, and I think it's really incumbent upon us to keep heading in that direction. I personally believe that we're on the cusp of our golden era, and it's up to us to realize that.
I think due to the hard work of the city staff and the elected officials, our economy has been able to withstand or hold up to a lot of the crisis going around in the country. So we're leaps and bounds above a lot of communities in this country economically.
We're very strong moving forward, thanks to the voters and Keep Fort Collins Great.
It's a city government and a community that functions at a very high level, that continuously strives to improve and to make a positive difference for people and the planet.
Poverty rate and our unemployment are lower than the national rates, and environmentally our air and water are relatively clean. And in terms of politics, there's a lot more cooperation and less confrontation than we see on the broader scene.
We have such incredible amenities coming on board, the Museum of Discovery, the Lincoln Center renovations, and all this is done through the people of Fort Collins.
And I think we compare very favorably to anywhere in the state and the nation.
Fort Collins has always been a community that punches above its weight. And by doing so, I think we compete at multiple levels, and as a community, I think it's those sorts of things that makes it a great place.
The heart, the soul, the spirit, the love of community, it's showcased throughout Fort Collins, and that's what makes Fort Collins unique.
Being a great place to retire, being a great place to be young and raise kids. You have everything you need in this community without it being overwhelming or so commercial or just like any other community you go. It's just different. And we have so many resources here.
We have a river running through our town, and it's just a beautiful open space that's been protected. You know, it sets us apart not just from an environmental standpoint. I mean, it's something that folks use that for recreation, they use it for all sorts of different purposes, but from an economic standpoint, it is something that truly has been a focal point and has been something that we have invested a lot of money in. And because of that, people want to come to Fort Collins. And, you know, we're protecting it, which is really important.
I'm continually amazed at the creativity and the involvement of the people in Fort Collins in the world. We're a pretty small place, but we cast a pretty big shadow in the world, and it's mostly a positive shadow.
The past year, I believe it would be the fact that we're delivering the Keep Fort Collins Great. We're delivering exactly what we promised the voters. And I'm real proud of that. I didn't doubt that for a second, but that's what we're doing. More police, more fire, improved transportations and street maintenance, and the other items that we talked about in delivering exactly as promised.
The activism of the citizens. Many times the citizens have stood up against some of the decisions of council. And that's what I'm really most proud of, is that active participation.
A lot of the main accomplishments of council are the least visible. We continue to reform the financial and operational aspects of the city, getting better standards, better long-term things in place so that the city will continually improve its operation.
Yeah, I think really pushing to look outside the box and look at new ideas and new technology and not doing things just because we've always done them.
What is Fort Collins's role in this community when it comes to addressing social service needs and the issue of early care and education? And I'm really proud that we finally had a very frank, very direct conversation about where do we fit in the fabric of social services and social programming. In addition to that, I think that the important thing was that we were going to continue the conversation, and I think that came out very clearly.
I pride myself on being able to bring forward a business perspective to the City Council. Job growth, business involvement, and I believe that perspective comes forward in things that we have done this year in the accomplishments of the URA with the inclusion of Midtown and the rise of the Capstone property as it relates to not only the Mason Corridor, but housing students and beginning to do the redevelopment to the south of Fort Collins.
Working very hard to provide clean, honest, open, responsive, and efficient government to the people of Fort Collins. And the other one that I'm really proud of is protecting and improving neighborhoods.
This council chose to fund community dual disorders treatment, and that addressed the needs of the chronically homeless in Fort Collins by giving housing vouchers to folks who have both a mental illness and also a substance abuse problem. And I'm really proud of that because it's been an extraordinarily successful program.
One of the visible things that has really happened is a lot more attention on the north side of town, which of course is my concern. I'm District 1, so northeast Fort Collins. And North College Avenue has been neglected for many, many years. Having North College be renewed and be an asset instead of a liability for the city, I think is really one of my points of pride.
Putting the medical marijuana dispensaries on the ballot. And although initiated by citizens, the council did vote to put it on the ballot, and I'm proud of that vote because this was a very difficult issue for the city, and I struggled with it a lot. I think putting it to the citizens was the best thing we could have done because it was a more emotionally driven issue than any other issue I've dealt with on the council.
I think part of our challenges is really keeping up with the pace of what will be our children's future here and realizing that kind of future. I chair the council's Futures Committee, which is looking at the built environment, our water future, our energy future, our transportation future, our economic future, and our environmental future. And it's really looking at where we want to be as a community and planning out how to get there.
I think the biggest challenge facing Fort Collins is not becoming part of one massive suburban blob in northern Colorado, thus destroying the open western landscapes that drew most of us here in the first place. We haven't been doing nearly enough. We have adopted community separator policies, but those have been implemented haphazardly. We have to have more regional planning and cooperation. It can't be just up to Fort Collins to do it. Other communities have to buy into the same philosophy, and that's not always easy. So no, I don't think we've done nearly enough. Sometimes we're just throwing gasoline on the fires of growth rather than taking care to protect the very thing that makes us a unique and special place.
I think that recognizing that the river is one of our greatest assets is extremely important, and I think that our water supply demands can be met without damming our river.
Fort Collins has great water rights, very senior water rights, but we have no way to store them. We don't store our water in horse tooth, contrary to popular belief. And I think as we move forward and with the environmental issues going on and the growth of the city of Fort Collins, water is imperative.
We have a huge financial challenge in the long run. Temporarily, we're fixed up in the areas of sales tax, but we have way too much dependency on retail sales tax. And so we have to reform the fundamental funding sources of the city. And that's a major conversation that I have great interest in and I'd like to participate in.
Whether we're talking in the economic arena and we talk about things like Colorado State University's Small Engines Conversion Lab, if we're talking about the Innosphere, the arts incubator that's coming online, all of those opportunities just abound based on partnerships and infinite possibilities.
So the mayor's last phrase, opportunities abound, I think it's spoken as an informed optimist. Rather than naive optimism, this is an informed optimism that I think we both have standing up here about this community. You heard a lot of stories this evening. There's many people in the room that have many, many more stories. We didn't capture all of them, and we'll continue to build on this story, and we appreciate those people who contributed to it. This is really just a small sample of, I think, statements about the state of Fort Collins. I hear these kinds of stories regularly. Mayor Weitkunat hears them regularly, and so does the Fort Collins City Council. And as I said, I'd venture to guess that you have your own stories that would contribute to this. We have an engaged citizenry, which makes Fort Collins fairly unique in Colorado, and I'm here because of that. I appreciate that very much. We have a dedicated group of elected officials, both in past and in current, and that's also a big part of the reason why I'm here. And we also have a deeply committed city staff who want to partner and want to, as I mentioned, improve. And that's also a big part of the reason why my wife and I choose to stay in Fort Collins. We love it here. When we align with the community, this actively engaged citizenry, and we toward a common vision, and that takes that richly diverse debate and coming up with a common vision, of creating a world-class community, that's when I think we create great things. That's when we build a great community. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to the mayor for some closing comments.
Tonight is a celebration of community. Tonight we summarize the state of the city through your eyes. Through the videos, you reinforce the importance of taking care of our environment. You told us about the importance of economic partnerships and innovation. You showed us that the people of Fort Collins genuinely care for one another. Your long-term commitment to making Fort Collins a better place and your unmistakable optimism guarantees that we as a community will succeed. I want to thank everyone who participated this evening and for coming out. We all recognize that Fort Collins really is a great place to live. The entire Fort Collins community really has brought forward that this is a celebration of our accomplishments in making Fort Collins one of the best places to live in America and having a truly bright future. Thank you all. Now we'd like to hear from you in attendance this evening. If we've set aside a few minutes for any of your commentary or questions, should you choose to do that. So if you want to raise your hand and talk with us, we have a roving mic, and that way the people are in our TV listening audience can also hear what you have to say.
Thank you. Mel Hilgenberg. And first of all, an unpaid non-political announcement. The Fort Collins World Class Symphony has a concert Saturday night in our world-class Lincoln Center. I have a not-so-serious question and a serious question. My not-so-serious question, Darin, is for you. How are the Foxes going to do this year? Okay, and my serious question, I really appreciated the parking panel that came to Fort Collins, and I had an opportunity to participate with that. What is going to be happening in the future on parking? I live in the Northern Hotel, and downtown parking is getting to be a problem.
Well, we are, if people don't know, we're in the middle of a downtown parking analysis strategic plan. Very actively engaged business community in that. Michael Short is here from DBA and Matt Robinoff from DDA and other DDA board members. We know that we've got to be looking out in the future for parking. There are parking enforcement issues, there's parking supply issues, there's how to better engage the business community. So Mel, we're smack in the middle of that. This spring is when we're going to have conversations with the council about that, and I wish I had the dates in front of me, but there is, I think that there is an opportunity. I would encourage you to look at fcgov.com. There's information about how you can participate. But we do in downtown, we've got a parking issue. We've got long-term employees parking on street. They should be parking in the off-street parking structures and freeing it up for retail parkers. And again, if Randy Hensley were up here, our parking director, he'd be able to speak more to it. But I think we're addressing it. We're taking it very seriously. Pay attention to the council discussion because they're going to be debating these issues. There's all kinds of fun stuff like options of governance, like parking authorities, things like that. There's conversations about parking meters and long-term parking structures and stuff like that. So it's a good conversation. I think the Foxes are going to do great this year. I hope they do.
Regarding the parking, there happens to be an open house for the parking tomorrow morning from 7 to 9 a.m., and it's open to the public. In fact, it is specifically for the public to attend and air their thoughts on this strategic parking plan. It's from 7 to 9 at the Galleria, and then again from 4 to 7 at the Azatlan Center. So 2 times tomorrow, and I would encourage you all to come out and give your perspective and learn more about it. It's a very complex issue.
We'll see you at 7 a.m., Mel.
Wanda Mayberry, and you mentioned that we would have innovation as one of the big things, but you also mentioned operational excellence. And could you tell me a little bit more about what you see as operational excellence?
Wow, that's a great question. Mayor, do you want to say anything before I share?
Yours is the operational excellence.
Well, how much time do you have?
I'll time it. It's a minute.
I have a minute. Wait a minute. You get people at council meetings 3 minutes.
I could ask for a vote on that.
Operational excellence. It's a deep commitment to always getting better, believing that you can be better even if you're still really, really good. For us, that means measuring what we're doing, comparing to others, comparing to best practices, not just average benchmarks, but who are the world-class benchmarks and how do we strive to seek some of those levels. I think it means that we focus throughout our entire enterprise. I will tell you, I believe we have what I call pockets of excellence throughout the organization. There are some areas in our organization that are just, I believe, bulletproof, and I would put them up against any organization in the country. And there are other areas, I think, where we can really get better. So for me, operational excellence, and I wish I had my executive team up here for them to give you their feelings about it. I'm looking at Chief Hutto. Chief Hutto comes from Austin, Texas. He knows what operational excellence is, and he knows what measuring and benchmarking and continuously getting better means. So I'll speak with you after the session. That was therapy for me. Thank you for the question.
I knew that.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Dolores Williams. An example of how our city council really works, and when we call out, I went to the city council and I asked, please, what can you do so that they don't close the North Fort Collins schools? You remember? and you said something like, we'll see if we can clear our deck and meet with the school board, and you did. And everybody was so concerned, it was a view of something that was so beautiful to watch. And it was arranged that we didn't close any of the North Fort Collins schools. The neighborhood schools are whole. And thank you. I couldn't have asked for more rapid response and effects. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Dolores. And one piece to add to that is that relationship that the city has with the school district as well, to be able to meet over issues and be able to talk about them civilly in a public venue was, another very important factor that pieced into that.
We have time for one last question, and then I just want to remind everyone that the mayor, city manager, and other council members will be available to chat with afterwards.
Bill Timpson, Economic Advisory Commission. A complex question that doesn't have an easy answer. We heard from the consulting group from Austin that university towns historically have a problem with underemployment of talent. We see it on campus with a lot of very talented people working for very little as adjuncts. Have you had any conversations about the talent pool in Fort Collins and some innovative approaches to take advantage of the richness that's here in some new and different ways?
I can't speak for the city manager, but at this point in time, no, I haven't. And part of what I would hope, Bill is on our Economic Advisory Commission, right? And that's part of the conversation. The city has various boards and commissions that also work in the background, bringing advice and ideas to the council. Part of this process that we're working with a consultant on the economic strategic plan involves that engagement, and it certainly would pull from the people, and as has been pointed out, we have a richly knowledgeable community of people that's where we get our ideas on how to make things better and to make it work. And I would hope that in your engagement with the commission that part of that will come out in your work and you can forward it to council.
Real quickly from my standpoint, and doesn't answer your question directly, but I do want to say, first of all, acknowledge that is what we heard, and we do know that's a phenomena that occurs in many university towns, so you're absolutely right in that comment. And our consultant and work with Josh Burks and with the council is trying to put together an economic action plan that addresses some of those kinds of things. But since I have the opportunity, I want to just reiterate the council's, as I've interpreted where the council wants to head with economic development. First is those companies who are here, absolutely keep them here. So retain those companies who are here. Second, help expand if they need to expand as a business. Third, help incubate spin-off businesses that are coming out of the university and also out of those companies, and help create an environment where they can thrive and they can grow up. And then finally, where consistent with our community vision, attract those companies. Don't go out and steal companies from other communities. But if a company's looking to locate and it's a great fit with Fort Collins, then that's where we focus on attraction. So again, help retain. We don't want to lose our current companies. Help them expand. And then incubate out of the university and some of these other companies, and then attract where appropriate and consistent with our economic vision. So it's a great question. I wish I could be more specific, but it is something that underemployment in this community is a very important issue.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, that's it.
And thank you again. Once again. We don't have anything more to say, so enjoy the rest of the evening, and thank you again for coming out.
Thanks.